DAPTIME Sports. It's game time. Full episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Also, follow us on Instagram at DAPTIME21, Twitter at DAP_time, Facebook at DAPTIME, and on YouTube at DAPTIME TV. Thank you for your continued support. It's time.
What up? What up? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of DAPTIME's Game Time, our conversation about sports and sports-related topics. I am AJ, also known as B-Dub, Bobby Westbrook, and as always, I'm tag teaming with my partner in crime, Big Dang. And that groove consistently being provided on the one is by the incomparable in-house maestro, Pete Nice. Yo, it's time to lace them up and get busy in this year's DAPTIME Game Time NFL Draft Special. What up, Big Dang?
What's happening, bro? What's the good word?
Man, the good word is it is almost that time, my man.
It is.
We are about to embark on the next wave of NFL talent entering the league. Guys we watched in college and had the chance to root for or against, see them perform, hopeful that they'd get to this moment, and now they are there. So I am excited to come and have this conversation all about the NFL draft and our own special, unique DAPTIME way.
For sure.
But without any delay, I want to get right to what's on the wire. I want to find out from you, what are you looking forward to around the draft? We know some of the hot names, hot topics, but what are you really focusing on and hoping to see happen?
Man, it's a lot. It's a lot. This is probably I'm more excited for this draft than I have been in a while, just because there's so many. For one, there's a lot of great players coming in this year. A lot of great players, a lot of quarterbacks, all touted to be first round picks. So just to see how that plays out. The gamesmanship, I feel like, will be crazy.
Right.
But I mean, we've heard a lot. They've been talking about it for months. And it's gotten even hotter over the last, few weeks. Come draft night, when it really boils down to it, I have a feeling there's going to be some surprises. There's going to be a lot of surprises. So
it sounds like to me, you're less about some of the players and more about some of the moves that'll be made. That's really what you're keying in on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, I'm always looking to see that my team makes a good decision. There's certain players that I like that I want to see land in good spots where they can grow and have good careers. But yeah, ultimately, I think, I want to see who lands where, what surprise, a lot of teams, a lot will be said that a certain player is going to a certain team, but until draft night comes and they pick them, you don't know that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot of jockeying for position going on, I feel like, behind the scenes. So
right.
I'm just anxious to see how that plays out in real life,
No doubt. With the great point to take a pause and just let DAPTIME listeners know, you want to stay tuned. We are going to uncork straight from the bank. It's a contest we're running with our brain trust, and we call him the bookkeeper. Bankster has put a trivia question together that I think will pique the interest of sports fans. We're going to drop that just a little bit later, and you'll definitely want to get a shot at winning what we're putting up as a reward for those selected as the winners of this year's draft special. Big Dame, as you're talking about all of the moves and the gamesmanship, we know it's really been interesting to me. The media centers a lot and has focused a lot of its attention around the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Everything's been made about, we kind of presume at this point, and I don't know if since Tim Couch, there's ever been, or maybe even the older brother of the Carr brothers, David Carr, we've had this kind of automatic, that's the guy that's going to go first, right? Mm-hmm. But Trevor Lawrence has been going first since before the first kickoff last year. I mean, even during the pandemic, he wasn't losing any draft stock. Like, he was going number one overall. But it's almost like that set the tone. Like, teams who really could use help on the defensive side, they're kind of saying, I'll get it later or whatever. I mean, the quarterback seems to be the only thing we've really been hearing about leading up to this draft. Are there other positions and other players at other positions that you're really curious where they're going to land?
I am. Other positions. So there's a couple of defensive players that I'm interested to see where they go. Nobody's talking about defense yet. Come December, all you'll hear people saying is defense win championships.
Right.
Defense wins. That's all you hear. You know.
Do you think they're impact players? These guys you're talking about? Who are these two guys you're thinking about?
Well, one of them is a linebacker out of Penn State, Micah Parsons.
Okay.
The kid ran a 4.39.
Wow.
Nice size. He's good. He's good. He can play side to side. He can play from all the way to the sideline. And he can get there quick. So I'm anxious to see where he's going to go. He puts me in the mind of a Pittsburgh type of Baltimore maybe. You know what I'm saying? But definitely Pittsburgh. I mean, he can play side to side and get to the football. J.C. Horn. Defensive back out of South Carolina. He played a few games this past year, but then he opted out. He just shut it down to get ready for the draft. I think, I don't know. South Carolina may not have been competitive at some point, and he was just like, you know what?
I shouldn't laugh.
I got bigger fish to fry.
South Carolina, I was like, okay,
yeah, bigger fish to fry. He's actually the son of former NFL player Joe Horn. So I'm anxious to see what he does. And then the running back situation, that intrigues me as well because there's a couple good ones, and I think there's a couple teams that could use a good running back in the so we'll see.
So it's interesting to me because you mentioned the running back position, which I know we're going to talk a little bit more about it a little later, and I don't want to spoil that, but I am intrigued about this backfield tandem in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And both of those guys performing so well. We talked about it in a previous Game Time episode. I want to see where both of those guys end up going. Mm-hmm. I've always been, when it comes to the draft, I'm always curious to know where running backs are going to go and DBs. Those are two areas. In this year's draft, however, because of the way the game has changed a bit, the tight end has become really like a major force and factor on winning teams. Mm-hmm. I think the tight end has always been that, but now it's kind of like it's essential. And so this kid out of Florida, Kyle Pitts, is just burning up the charts. I mean, when you see all his numbers, he is like a very big, effective wide receiver. Yeah. And I'm curious to see where he goes, because if he goes somewhere where they've already got a very good tight end, like let's say, for instance, he fell and Oakland chose to take him, where they've got Darren Waller.
Right.
That changes their game dramatically. They've already got a really solid running back. They've got speed on the outside. But if you give them both two athletic tight ends, man, what could happen there? What if he ends up in Kansas City? Or what if he ended up, in San Francisco? Where Kittle's playing. I mean, I just think, you take a guy like that with great hands, great speed, and you pair him with another solid tight end like that. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how the offense changes and how defensive now have to change to adjust to play. And what do you do? So I'm really curious to see where a kid like that goes.
Absolutely. He falls in line with a lot of the quarterbacks that we're talking about in this draft. He's a splash player, right? He's not even like a normal. It's not like a normal tight end call. You know what I mean? He's a one-off. So there's going to be certain teams that might be willing to trade up to get him, or they might be willing to say, "Hey, I know we need a linebacker or running back, or maybe even a quarterback, but we're good enough there to where we're going to get this guy because he's unique, and we'll worry about that need in the second round or what have you." So yeah, I agree with you. And he's something else, man. He's like a wide receiver playing tight end. So he's kind of like a hybrid. You know what I mean? So you can do a lot with him. So depending on where he goes, it could be something special.
The thing that fascinates me about the draft is the kids that come in, and I call them kids, but the guys that'll come in from schools you're not expecting. They come in from a Wyoming, or they come in from a state school you never see.
Right.
or Louisiana Tech,
Right.
somewhere like that. Usually that's easy enough to happen because you have a combine.
Mhm.
I'm curious to know, how do you think the combine is going to impact what we see? Two things, two-part question. How do you think it impacts what we see in the draft, day one and day two? And even how much the fans tune in day one and day two?
Well, I think the fans are going to tune in day one and day two because there's been enough media hype over the splash players that we just talked about. So I think they're going to show up regardless. I think the combine. You mean not having the combine?
Yeah.
Hey, how much did that affect? So I don't know that it'll affect it as much. Maybe a little, but I mean the thing is, these guys are still spending a lot of money, so they've done their due diligence. Through film work, they've probably watched a whole lot more film than they normally would have. Pro days, I'm sure they visited a lot of pro days. So I don't know that not having the combine this year will affect it as bad. But it may affect it somewhat because the thing about it is, though, talent is talent. And,
Right.
it's funny because, when you look at the draft is all about splash players. It's all about, oh, this guy. By the second day, some people may still be watching. By the weekend, by Saturday and Sunday, fourth through the seventh round.
I'm washing the car, man.
No, I'm looking to see who my team picked. You know what I mean? And that's about it. But the thing about it is, when you take Bill Belichick, for example, in the Patriots. Now, possibly the GOAT quarterback, Tom Brady, was picked in the 6th round. And then through that whole 20-year tenure where they were together, what splash draft picks did they ever make?
Can't think of any. Yet
they won more Super Bowls than any other team. So to me, there's something to that. There's something to be said for that. So I think while everybody else there's a saying in the market, in the stock market, I think they say buy the news, sell the buy the news, sell the hype, or buy the news, sell the facts. So when the news starts trending, they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then the stock price starts, you buy, and then that'll drive the price up, and then when they didn't get the contract, that's the fact. Sell, you better get out because it's going to drop back down. And I think a lot of times the draft is the hype. You know what I mean? That's the hype. That's the the projection. We're projecting now. So who knows? Who knows? We'll pay for that. But at the end of the day, a lot of your better players and a lot of your best players are going to be found in the later rounds.
I think that's what makes the draft so great is you really have to tune in. You got to, even though most of us are going to go back and we'll have to Google or catch it later somewhere online, what did our team get in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th rounds? But what moves were made late, what free agents were signed. But to your point, man, it's in those later rounds that a lot of what really matters to your team's long-term success happens in the later rounds, which makes the first couple of rounds it's theater. It really is theater. And I think that's where the combine comes in handy because you've been able to paint a very good picture that people tune into for the long run of the show, right? People don't leave at intermission because you're seeing the person about because they've been on television throughout the season and they're hype, but you're also seeing their time up against some of those smaller schools, the lower division schools, the smaller conferences, and you're like, man, well, that guy looks good too. Where could that person land? You're able to buy into the stories, but without it, and just snapshot coverage of a few of the feature players' pro days. And even when you see the pro days, like the pro days, there wasn't a whole lot of coverage on that. So it'll be interesting to me to see how much of that theater we get and how valuable it is in the long run. Because I mean, are advertisers going to see this and read this as, without it, it's an indication of what kind of season we're going to have. Want to take a pause, big game. We mentioned earlier that we're introducing around it's starting with the draft. We'll probably do this on several other occasions for other reasons, but our in-house trivia meister himself, Bankster has offered up straight from the bank this inaugural draft special trivia question. So the winner will receive a DAP pack that includes 2021 Game Time Draft Special hoodie. That's what you're going to get, and you, as amongst some other things that we're going to throw in there to make that a real sweet gift, what will be in general available for people to purchase will be up online and in the DAP shop. So here it is, Big Dame. Now, we're all familiar with great quarterbacks that were picked during the first round of the 1983 NFL draft, right? So you've got Elway, Todd Blackledge, who went at number 7. Jim Kelly went at 14. Tony Eason went at 15. Ken O'Brien at 24. And Dan Marino, who is a Hall of Famer great, went down all the way down to 27. But did you know that there were a total of 7 players from that draft who would go on to become NFL Hall of Famers, 4 of which were not quarterbacks?
I did not know that.
Did you know that?
I did
So,
not know that.
as a bonus, this is a platinum bonus. If a person can name the 4 players that were in that draft that went on to become Hall of Famers who were not quarterbacks, again, 4 players went on to become Hall of Famers from that draft that were not quarterbacks, you will get a DAP pack. You will get a DAP pack. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to put the names in the hat. It will be randomly selected. We'll make a big deal about it. We'll announce you, your name, etc. And the instructions for how you do this will be online on the website. Visit www.itsdaptime.com and click on the draft special link. That'll be on the homepage. Click on that, put your email in, and you can apply.
Sounds like a plan,
Ready?
man. I
All
think
right,
we'll also put that link on Instagram as well. So it'll be there for you as well. You can see, you'll be able to see it there as well. So
absolutely. Now,
make it easier.
all applicants have to have their stuff submitted by the end of this year's 3rd round. So whatever's not received by the end of the 3rd round of this year's draft will not count for part 1 of this trivia. If you want part 2 of this trivia, we'll get you the platinum pack. You got to stay tuned for later in the show, because right now, Big Dame, it is time for We Are on the Clock. You know, that's like a famous draft thing. We're on the clock. This is where we get into the DAP time-ish conversation. Big Dame, you alluded to earlier the gamesmanship.
Yes, sir.
Gamesmanship. You know, I know you've referenced a couple times the movie Draft Day, which is very popular, very good show.
Yes, sir.
When you think about the gamesmanship around the draft, and you think about it in relationship to this year's draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard kid Mac from Mac, what's his name, from Alabama, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields kind of all are in that could go third overall.
Yeah.
It just screams there's going to be a move made when they're on that, around that pick. Like the Niners could actually choose to go get Kyle Pitts, say, hey, we've got a couple quarterbacks we feel good about.
Right.
We just need to throw another tight end up here with Kittle, and we got Debo Samuel. We got a good running game. We got a solid defense. We about to go and do it with what we have, right? Or they could trade down for that. What comes to mind when you think about the gamesmanship around the draft? What are some of the things that come to mind for you?
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, we've been hearing things, but if I'm making a move and you're making a move and we're playing in the same game, you think I'm gonna really put my strategy out there for you to hear? I mean, think about it. I know you wouldn't. So I think in the war rooms, there's one conversation being had, and there's certain information that's purposefully leaked. Hey, well, we think we're gonna go this way. That's what we're thinking right now. There's no harm and there's no law against changing your mind, right? So I think that's what's going on, and I get it. But for me, honestly, the Jets have been saying at number 2, Zach Wilson's going to the Jets, right? It's been hands down. That hasn't been up for debate. I wouldn't be surprised if by draft night, somebody else goes to the Jets at number 2. I wouldn't be surprised, because I think it's that deep. You talking about billionaires playing with millions of dollars. So I don't know why everybody why would somebody, I don't understand why somebody would just say, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick this guy 3rd. That's it. Yeah, that's really what we're going to do. I'm done. But you really think? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that somebody would really do that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put a false narrative out there, so you'll jump at that, so I can go the way I really want to go. I mean, I'm gonna throw the
Mm-hmm.
feint, right, and see if
Right.
you jump at it. So I think that's what's going on, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I just think it only makes sense in a game like this.
So when you look at this, though, I mean, the variables are, I mean, really based on what's going on in the building. Like,
Right.
what's really happening in house, right? So you mentioned the Jets. You've got a team that just got rid of, or they did get rid of the kid, right? That they drafted,
Sam
that
Darnold.
he was going to be the second coming, and they took him. Didn't they take him in number 2 or number 3? He was like a high pick in the
Yeah,
first round for them.
yeah, he was top 5 pick.
So I mean, you're shoveling off a quarterback you took. What's to say they couldn't make a trade, get a veteran quarterback, and pick up a couple of extra first round picks? If you're the Jets, isn't that like a smarter move to make?
I think so, but the Jets haven't been good in a long time. So maybe I don't know. You take from that
Right.
what you will. Yeah, I agree with you though. I mean, those are some of the moves that can be made. I mean, we've seen crazy things in the past. You know what I mean? Where somebody is just it's a given they're going and they fall to the second round. Or somebody there's one I don't know if you're familiar with Terrell Edmonds and his brother he plays for Pittsburgh. His brother
Yeah.
Tyrone Edmonds plays for the Bills. So
Right.
Tyrone was expected to be Virginia natives, by the way. Shout out to them. Tyrone was expected. He was in New York because he was or wherever the draft was that particular year. I think it was 18 or 19, maybe. He was there because he was expected to be a first round pick, right? His brother came he came to support his brother, right? Now their dad also played, so that it's family affair, right? So of course Tyrone gets picked up by the Bills, pretty high first round pick. Well, here comes Pittsburgh later in the first round, and they pick up his brother, Terrell. Nobody's more shocked than Terrell. Was never slated. He was never slated to be a first round pick. Nobody ever talked about him. He was only there because to support his brother because they was expecting his brother to go. So who knew? You know what I mean? Pittsburgh was slated to pick up whoever they were slated to pick up that year, but it wasn't him by any means. So
Wow.
that kind of stuff happens every year. You know what I mean? And so so it's like, that's why it's so, to me, I'm so interested to see how the strategies play out, because I want to see, did the Jets really pick this kid second? Were they really set on him, and was that really what they were doing? But then you get there and it's like, the Jets pick Kyle Pitts and they trade back to get the eighth pick from, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff can happen. And then at that eighth pick, who's going to be waiting around at that eighth pick that they could pick up at quarterback? You know what I mean? So it's all kind of games being played, man. I'm sure.
Well, that's the thing that's funny to me, right? Because again, and I go back to the earlier statement, it's gamesmanship, but it's theater. And, everybody's participating in this show, playing a part. And as a fan, I think it's interesting because we as fans tune in because we're kind of like, hey, what's going to happen in this episode of the draft, right? And like any great, show, any sitcom, drama, soap opera, you get advertisers saying, we're going to keep people tuned in and they're going to want to see how this plays out. And they're making money hand over fist on these hope. But the sad part to me in this drama is how it plays out long term, because you're playing with lives.
Yeah.
Like it is the most intense reality show out there, because 244 guys are going to get drafted between the first and the seventh round. At the end of the day, not many of those guys are going to really have a career.
Right.
It's going to, or their career is going to be a flash in the pan. You've got a whole bunch of them that will get 1 year, whole bunch of them that'll make the practice squad, whole bunch of them that'll have a couple of years, and a whole bunch that'll just wash out completely.
Yeah.
And there's a very few that will turn this in, that'll even make it to their retirement level. That'll get to 4 or 5 year, can retire, get some pension, get pension eligible, right?
Right.
That to me, but today, or not today, but draft day is their big moment in the light. And even fewer of them are going to get that light. Most of them are going to be drafted in the dark. They're at a cookout at the house or a get together. And so that's what makes it's almost kind of sick when you think about it, right? The gamesmanship is happening around this one segment of a much bigger play. And, the real drama happens with nobody watching.
I think, it's funny though, man, because I think it's kind of a microcosm of the world we live in, right? So go for a high profile job. All your life, you go to school, you get prepped, you do everything you need to do to get accepted to these great colleges. You go to college, you get your degree, you get whatever credentials you need. You go for the big the corporate job, the big job you've always wanted. You go through the hiring process. You're being wooed and courted, right? Along
Not wooed.
along with others,
Right.
You're not the only one.
Right.
Excuse me. Finally, you get the call. Big Dane, AJ, we'd like to make you an offer. We really like what we saw, and you get to have that moment. You get to stroll back in, you get to sit down. Here's the stock option package. Here's the company car. Here's the bonus package. Boom, bam, bam, right?
Right.
You made it. You know what I'm saying? There's probably about 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other guys that didn't get that call. Or they got a call that said, hey, resume looked great, but maybe next time, kid.
Right, right.
And that's in essence what we're saying, right? That's in essence what we're saying. Now for you got the gig, right? This is your moment, man. You get to go. Let's go celebrate. Let's paint the town, right? Monday you start that gig. What do you have to do now? You have to perform and continue to perform and continue to perform. And if you don't, the minute you don't, one of those other 10 are going to get a call, or some new kid coming in from college is going to get a chance to interview. And if he has some great ideas, this youngster, he comes in with new vigor. Hey man, AJ, we really appreciate it. But we're going to go another direction. You know what I mean? And so that's the life for these kids. Like you said, you come in, you finally get to have this shining moment. Some don't, but some get to have the shining moment. But even for those, now it's time to go to work. And that's your life. For the duration of your time in the league, that's your life. If you're built for it, big up. If you're not, go home. Because that's what it is. It's constant work, constant rejection, constant pressure, it's constant. So, I know we talked in pre-production. That's one of the things that impresses me so much about star athletes, the ones at the highest level, LeBron, Jordan, Brady. Man, Brady, goodness gracious, to deliver the way they do, because the amount of pressure that they feel, I don't think people really understand the pressure that they feel on a daily basis. Because I promise you, when that new quarterback comes into Tampa and he can sling the ball just as good as Tom Brady does, they will give him a look. Tom Brady doesn't have his job just because his name is Tom Brady. He may get some quirks and some fringe benefits because of who he is, but at the end of the day, it's about results. You know what I mean? So the fact that those players can take that pressure, manage that pressure, live under that pressure, work under that pressure, and the pressure in and of itself is enough, but they also deliver every time. Every time. That's unheard of.
Do you think that's what so let's shift a little bit to this year's draft. Let's call it the trailer for this year's draft is centered around these 4 quarterbacks. Do you think that, because I agree with you, I think it's you're buying, if you're a team, you're buying in the first 2 rounds, especially the hope that you are selecting someone at a position that will be there to make a difference soon, if not immediately.
Right.
And that they are built for the journey. I mean, you're hoping you're making an investment that's going to be a long-term play.
Right.
And so, this year they're saying of the crop, the cream of the crop are the four quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But two of those quarterbacks played at, really nowhere schools. Right. And well, BYU is not a nowhere school, but I mean, come on, let's look at the competition compared to, who Ohio State is going up against week in and week out.
Right.
And the shot that I mean, even when they're playing a no-name school, they're getting that school's best shot. Right. So, you look at the level of competition, the amount of pressure. Mm-hmm. If you're the starting quarterback for Buckeye Nation, mm-hmm. That's not like going out for North Dakota State.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, North Dakota State, I'm sure they're rabid fans for, I don't even know who their mascot is, but, for North Dakota State's guy.
The Bison.
They're the Bison. Okay. Right. So I'm sure they're like Bison forever, but.
The Fighting Bison.
Buckeye Nation spans the globe. Right. We know that, like it's everywhere, like from the tailgate to the post game, and if you had the flu all week, if you on game day your fever finally broke and it's down to 101, if you lost 6 pounds that week, haven't been to practice, but you're the starter,
right,
and you sneeze on a pass route that everybody needs that score. No let up.
What's wrong with you? No let up.
Right. If you were sick, you shouldn't have played.
Right.
Well, say you're sick and can't play.
Right.
Now, he's not tough enough. That guy can't be our starter. I mean, the pressure, and that's just the pressure that is obvious. There's a bunch of internal pressures that we're unaware of. And so I'm trying to understand, how do you equate you take away all of that and you say, well, this kid from BYU and this kid from North Dakota, man, same guy.
Yeah. I will say this in fairness to the kid from North Dakota. The one from BYU I'm not too familiar with, but the kid from North Dakota, Trey Lance from North Dakota.
Trey Lance, yeah.
He puts me in the mind. I'm gonna tell you, I watched a little bit of his tape. He puts me in the mind of Buffalo. Quarterback.
Jared, what's his name? Jared Allen.
Josh
Allen. That's right. Jared Allen was a D guy,
and he came from Wyoming, another kind of small school, but he's got that same kind of build. He's a big kid. He can run. Got a great arm. So I think that's what people are falling in love with him. The other one, I don't know where it came from. I don't know. And I'm not saying he's not deserving. Zach Wilson. I'm not saying he's not deserving. I just don't know. I don't know where it came from. You know what I mean? The other thing with Lance is it's one season. So
I looked at a little bit of I don't even know. I think it was his second pro day tape.
Yeah.
And he was his receivers didn't help him. So I'm not going to put this all on him. But if I saw 15, 20 throws, mm-hmm. there were 5 completions.
Oh, wow. Really?
Really? Now maybe they were assessing his drop back and footwork at the time, and it wasn't a big deal, or maybe they graded on the curve because his receivers were suspect, But I'm like, money, that's how do you make you know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. You have to pull in all these other factors, and I'm not knocking him because I want him to get a shot. I want everybody who's deserving to get a shot. Mm-hmm. But when you're saying this is the cream of the crop at the most important position, at least on the offensive side of the ball, if not your whole field, then I'm struggling to understand how you don't have in the mix your 2 top quarterbacks from your biggest schools where their competition week in and week out is high, and at least a couple. You got an offensive lineman in there. You've got a defensive player in there. Like, your top 4 players should be, to me, representative of the top 4 athletes in the draft. Right. If you were asking me, I'll give you Trevor Lawrence. I'll give you Justin Fields because to me that's accurate. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say Kyle Pitts has to be at the top of the heap. Absolutely. And I'm going to say your boy at Penn State has to be at the top of the heap.
Yeah, and then you have to throw in Najee Harris. You look at
Or Najee, even Najee. Yeah.
because running backs are not getting any love. They're not talking about
None.
running backs at all. Speaking of gamesmanship, something else we uncovered in our research was quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Right.
The chance that they will throw for 3,200 yards at least once in their career, at least one time, is 66%. So if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you have a 66% chance that he will at least throw for 3,200 yards one time. Not to say he won't do it more, but that's the chance you have that he'll do it once.
3,200 yards. That's the average.
Right. It's okay
Okay.
year. It's okay year.
Okay. Got it.
It's a decent year. Running backs chosen in the first round, there's a 74% chance that they'll run for at least 1,000 yards in their career, right? That's the odds. So from a business standpoint, if I'm an analyst, if I'm a GM and I'm sitting back, I'm looking at numbers and I'm trying to weigh the pros and the cons, it's almost a better deal to pick a running back in the first round than a quarterback. I mean, you got a 74% chance, you got a 3 and 4, 3 out of 4 running, you got a 3 and 4 chance that you're going to get 1,000 yards out of this guy while you have him, or at least, during his career. You pick a quarterback, you got a 66% chance. Nah, it's not.
And that's 1,000-yard season, right? That's not 1,000 yards over the life of his career. That's 1,000-yard season.
1,000-yard season.
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
But the point I'm making is nobody talks about running backs anymore. A lot of times you can almost go a whole first round without having a running back go these days. You know what I mean? It used to not be like that. But over the last few years, running backs are like, early second round, maybe late first. I think Zeke went in the first, Saquon went in the first, but they were rarities. I mean, you've seen some of those guys, but nobody's talking about that. So, when you talk about gamesmanship, again, is somebody, maybe you can double up and get 2 picks in the first round, maybe a running back and a quarterback. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways to play it, but
I think that's part of the, so you look at the way the game has evolved and changed, and so much hinges on RPO now. I mean, that is like everybody's favorite acronym. We do RPO some of this, and like whatever.
Yep.
The run pass option is like the latest thing since sliced bread that has changed the world.
Yep.
But to me, I'm with you. Come December, January, you got to be able to put it in somebody's gut and know they can get you a first down. They can get the tough yards. You got to know you can keep a defense honest because of weather conditions, because of how defenses are playing you now. You've got faster players on the other side of the ball. The linebacker you mentioned at Penn State, you got dudes running 4.4s and 4 across your defensive front now.
Yeah.
You got D linemen running 4.5s and 4.4s for breakfast. Roll it out of bed after a long late night and a full and have a couple of sandwiches before they get out the door and go run 4.4. You know what I mean? So now you can't, the RPO, and they're smarter, they're playing smarter. RPO is, unless you have skill at every position, and that includes the running back position, no guarantee. If your quarterback isn't a legitimate threat, and how much do you really want to risk? Because I really think that's all it is. I mean, the minute people realize how exposed your quarterback is to take a hit, well, now that's a $100 million guy on his back,
right?
Because he made a bad decision or because the defense was faster than we anticipated,
right?
So I think, and the game continues to do this, right? It goes up, it goes down, it ebbs and flows, and I think the running back will come back around again. Every team wins as a unit, and all facets of the game have to be represented in order for that win to result in those wins to compile and result in a championship.
Right.
And without a decent running game, reliable running game, you're not going to get it done. Now, people would look at Tampa Bay and say, well, Tampa Bay didn't have consistency. They did that with a little bit of 2 different guys primarily. But those 2 different guys could easily, either one of them, be 1,000-yard rushers.
So you mean that people would complain that they had 2 running backs, they didn't have a good
right?
Well,
right.
And see, my thing to that, because a lot of people talk about the running back by committee, but I can remember back in the day, I know you can as well. when every team had a fullback and a halfback.
Right.
Isn't that 2 running backs? Now the
I thought so.
thing is, fullback didn't touch the ball as much, but he got his touches. He caught the ball out of the backfield. He blocked for the, you know what I'm saying? So it was still multiple running backs. It's just the game has changed, to your point.
It'll continue to innovate.
Yeah.
Great place in which to drop part 2 of Straight from the Bank for our listeners. If you are just tuning in, you were late to the party. Straight from the Bank is this year's draft special trivia contest. The winner will receive a DAP pack that will include this year's special Game Time Draft Day hoodie. And it will be among some other things to make that special. This is for the Platinum Prize. Now, nothing to say the person who wins the first won't win the second as well, and that would be outrageous. But for the Platinum Prize, this is the second trivia question. Now, remember, for those, again, we're refreshing your memory. The first question was from the 1983 draft. 4 players became NFL Hall of Famers who were not quarterbacks. Which 4 players from that draft became Hall of Famers who were not quarterbacks? 1983 draft. Big Dame, this is part 2. Elway, Kelly, and Marino. There was also Eric Dickerson in that draft, right? So you had Bruce Matthews and Darryl Green that was in that draft. All right. Mm-hmm. Part 2 of our question. During the common NFL draft, today's, as we know it, okay, what is the only year in which a quarterback was not selected during the first or second round? What's the during the common era? What's the only year in which a quarterback was not drafted in the first or second round? And who was that person? Where were they drafted? And that actually is that's a good question, because the answer is really, it's amazing. Remember, the winner gets the Platinum DAPTIME Game Time Draft Special packet, and we'll send that out to you. So just as a reminder, you can enter the contest on the website, which goes live on draft day. So you just go to www.itsdaptime.com, click on the draft special trivia, take it to the bank trivia, and you have to get that in before the end of the 3rd round of this year's draft. So fill it out, get your name in there, get the question in. We'll select from those who get the question correct. We'll select the winners, and we will notify them, and we'll recognize you during an episode very soon. So, Big Dame, back to it. Now, you talked about a couple of metrics, which I thought were really interesting. And as we round this out, here's a fun fact for you. Barry Sanders was the very first player from college to enter the draft as a junior. Mm-hmm. Right. So we know in the NFL draft, you have to be 3 years out of high school before you can come in the draft. Right. But he was the first college player as a junior to enter the draft. Okay. I have a question for you. We've seen in the NBA, these guys have made advances in their growth and development, and they're entering the NBA at a younger age. Mm-hmm. Do you think that, and we're certainly seeing kids in college as sophomores that look like grown men, right? Play like grown men, certainly at the larger schools where they're training early, etc. If you look at Maurice Clarett, when he challenged it, when he came out, I mean, Maurice was playing like a man. He was playing like a man. Yeah, he was. Do you think that the league should relax its standards and allow maybe a sophomore after 2 years of college, you can come in?
Well, I think, and I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it now 2 years? You can go after 2 years out of high school. You have to be 2 years out of high school. Because I know Maurice Clarett, he was a pure freshman. So he was a true freshman his first year. And then after that year, he wanted to leave. And they were saying he needed another year. And then so he challenged it. He didn't want to go back to school for another. He had fell out with Ohio State and all of that. So I think now it is 2 years as opposed to 3. But to your point, no, I don't think they should relax that. And,
why not?
And I'm all for, so with the NBA, I like the fact that the guys can come straight out of high school and go get their money. They're grown. They can go earn a living. here's something about the NFL. These men are grown. You know what I'm saying? They grown. I mean, it's just, and I thought about it, man. I've been posed this question before, and I would say I always side with people getting their money. I always side with people getting their money. But in this case, Maurice Claret was playing like a grown man in college, but he wasn't a grown man. He was a 19-year-old kid. And I'm sorry, Ray Lewis is a grown man. So if you come in here, you're 18 years old, you just got done running over West Side High School or, Brookville, JF, O'Dowd, Castlemont,
Right.
whoever,
They ain't
right?
running over Dow.
Well, I hear you.
Nobody's running over O'Dowd.
I hear you. They might get froze if they try that. But so, but any of those, right? Okay, great. You had 3,000 yards for the season. Great year. You're the man. Now you're going to go straight to the NFL. At 200, let's say he's 210 pounds, 6-foot kid, strapping young buck. I don't care. You got a 250-pound man. James Harrison. You ever seen any of his workouts?
They are incredibly crazy to me.
It's a grown man. That's a grown man, bro. So you throw your 18-year-old child on the field with him as fair bait. I just don't. I think men's bodies, as advanced as we've gotten over the years, I think a man's body still there's a level of development. There's a level of mind body connection that happens from 18 to 20, 21 that could behoove you when you get in that gladiator arena. I mean, basketball is a tough sport too, but man, football, that's blood sport, man. That's blood sport. You can really get yourself hurt. And for that reason, I think 2 years is I think 3 might have been pushing a little bit, but I think 2 years is enough. I think 2 years is enough.
So for the record, I'm of the same school of thought. I actually prefer longer. I think the problem, and this is the same with basketball to me in the end, the problem is the way the NCAA is set up as a whole, right? So it's really my issue with the whole thing. But if you get injured, especially when you play for these larger conferences where so many people are making so much money off of you, if you get injured and that's it, it's a wrap. I mean, I look back and you see what happened to Maurice Claret his freshman year. That kid played through, and I call him a kid then. He's a grown man. No disrespecting who he is.
Right.
But he played grown man football at 18 years old at Ohio State, shoulder issues and dinged up and played through it all as a man should. I'm showing up for my teammates, showing up for Buckeye Nation. It's what made me have an issue with the AD and the way that he treated him. But to go through all of that, and still when he won his case, but when he got to the league, no. Now, people could say, well, there's a lot of things that went on in his life away from the game that contributed to his state of mind when he got to Denver. And when you look at the kind of man he is now and what he's doing, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. His life has worked out the way it was supposed to.
Absolutely.
But I think you take a young, impressionable person and the violence of that game, and you put them in an arena with people who are coming to work because they have kids at home.
Right.
Whole
families.
That, wait a minute, this dude. And that's the thing. We talked a little bit about this. These guys what you win on draft day, money is a part of it for a few. Everybody's going to get a check, but it's just a part of it. Right. For most, all you're getting is essentially a playoff shot. You've earned your way into the playoffs. You've earned your way into, all right, you're in the lottery round now to earn a job.
Right.
And as sure as you can earn a job, you will be taking that opportunity from somebody else. So everybody wants that job. If it's 11 receivers in there, we keeping 6.
Yeah.
5 people going home unhappy. How you gonna make sure you're not one of those 5? And that happens year in and year out. So here you come as a 19-year-old You all Lil Uzi verted out. you know, you got your your YNBA Young Thug and everybody else playing.
Got your skinny jeans on and
Got
all
your
that.
skinny jeans on, and
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm here to do it to it, Jack. And there's a dude that is 5 years in on his third team, and he got an invitation, but no guarantee.
Yeah.
Man, that dude hungry.
Yeah.
He's hungry.
He got to take care of them 6 kids at home too.
I'm trying to eat and get out of mama house. I got my whole family living at my mama house.
Right.
Don't want that no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's that to me that if you put those young minds in there, they're not ready for that. And it's not personal, but
right.
It gets personal on the field, but it's not personal, but it can get personal.
Right.
And, to your point, real bad things can happen. So I actually love that they have, I preferred the 3-year deal, the fact that they relaxed it. Okay. But the problem in it is that if something goes wrong in that extra year, what's your chance then? And that's the part. If people make their money and they keep moving, the machine is going to keep moving and making its money. They'll plug somebody in, but your opportunity now has gone away. That is my struggle with it all. It always has been, and it continues to be.
Yeah, yeah, and I get it, man. I got a friend of mine. Went to high school with, played ball with him in high school. He went on to do great things, man. Played for UVA. And after his junior year, he was touted. He was, people were talking first round, free safety. He's actually in the College Football Hall of Fame now. He did great. Decided to go back for his senior season. Tore his knee up in his senior year. So still ended up getting drafted. I think it was like 7th round. He ended up going to Baltimore, won a Super Bowl with them in 2000. So that was a highlight play. He was with them for a couple of years. Eventually got moved to Cleveland, and I think that was where it kind of ended. But he was just, with that knee injury, never could be, a lot of people were saying he, putting him in the level of like an Ed Reed type of, could hit, but ball hawk type, So who knows what would have happened? What I do know is, had he come out as a junior, he'd have got his money, at least, So, it goes with the territory. You know what I mean? It goes with the territory. So that's why I say for me, 2 years is cool, because I want you to have the opportunity to go get your money. I mean, if the injury's coming, it's coming one way or another. I just feel like, I know if you asked me at 18, if I was grown, I would have told you, yeah. If you would ask me again at 20, were you really grown at 18? I would have said, nah, I wasn't. I wasn't as grown as I thought I was. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, I understand that there's a lot of development mentally that happens in that window. And you're not aware of it at 18. You know what I mean? You think you know what I mean? So yeah, we got to protect them from their self at that point.
Want to close this out with a what I think is a monumental moment, personal monumental moment. Do you have a draft where you say that draft is my favorite draft? There's either where a player you wanted landed where you wanted, or a moment in that draft where like, oh, that's dope. Or what's your favorite draft moment, or one of them? I'm sure you have many, but what's one of them?
Favorite draft moment, man. Probably. I would probably have to say, I don't know that I really have one. I enjoyed seeing, was it RG3 that went first overall to the Redskins?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool, because I think, and the reason that was cool for me is because I think it was, I can't remember if it was 99 or 98. The draft when Michael Vick and Peyton Manning, I believe, were in the same draft, right?
Right.
And Peyton Manning, I think, went first, and Vick went a little later. Or Manning went before Vick. I'll put it like that.
Right.
And I thought that was wrong. Now, nothing against Peyton Manning. He's a Hall of Famer. In my estimation, Vick is too, but I just felt like Vick, from what he had did in his college career, I think he deserved it. You know what I mean? If you compare him and Peyton's college careers. Right. So this year you had that particular year you had RG3, and I forget who the other guy was coming out, but RG3 got the number one look. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I think
Didn't
it's
last long, but it was cool.
I hate his story the way it ended because he
Yeah.
really looked. I mean, RG3 looked like he was going to change the way the quarterback position was played.
If he didn't get hurt, I think maybe we'd be singing a different song for him, you know.
But I'm glad to see he's still getting the job, still getting the check.
Yeah.
He's backing up Lamar, I think, in Baltimore
Lamar.
last class.
Yep.
You know, for me, Charles Woodson was drafted 4th overall by my Oakland Raiders. Then Oakland Raiders and now Las Vegas. But that was to me, a super moment. As a kid, you know, Lester Hayes was one of my favorite players, more so for the character that he was on the field. Jack Tatum, to this day, I give credit to Jack Tatum for the moment I fell in love with the game. So that year as you well know, I'm all about Big Blue. And, so that year, Big Blue did their thing. Woody won the Heisman, goes to the Rose Bowl, and was one of my favorite player in college. And to turn around and it's draft time and see him don the silver and black, it was just an amazing moment. I mean, there's nothing like kind of seeing that whole thing kind of evolve that way. And, not just a good player, but your favorite player goes to your team. Just kind of a great, and the thread being so consistent. I think the reason that I wanted us to kind of revisit that is staying with the theme that the draft is theater. It's I think some people, fanatics versus fans, fanatics are changing their plans for their normal routine to be over the next few days because they're armchair GMs and they're putting stock in the decisions that are being made. But it's theater. And if we can sit back and think about the moment that people have tomorrow, because it is real life for these guys. For some that are chosen tomorrow, it will be the happiest moment of their career. And over the next few days, right? Yeah. It'll be the happiest moment in their career. This draft will be. For others, it will be the last time that they have a really happy moment. Because the next part of the journey will be the beginning of the end of their career. And so being able to look at tomorrow from a fan's perspective and appreciate the theater that it is around this draft and just treat it as that entertainment with some good feel-good stories and try to take away what you can take away from it and enjoy it. I think that's the best we can hope for, and that's what we should be aiming for. Because for some, even some of those great names, tomorrow's it. What's the dude that played in Miami, won the Heisman? Gino Torretta, that's his name?
Yeah.
The quarterback?
Yeah, Gino. He had a little.
Can you tell me one of his NFL moments?
Who did he play for in the NFL?
Cleveland, I think.
I think he did go to Cleveland, yeah. Because he was supposed to be like the next Bernie Kosar. He comes from Miami.
And he was not even Bernie Jenkins.
Nah, he wasn't. At all. I didn't want to do him like that, but no, not at all. He was not.
Yeah, his college career, great. Gino, good guy, right? And all that promise. But, not the draft was really the beginning of the end of his football life as a player.
Just to add to that just a little bit, there are going to be some great stories coming out of the draft. And that's some of my favorite parts. I like shows like Undrafted, Path to the Draft, stuff because they chronicle like the long way around, But some of the best stories are going to come out of the 6th and 7th round. You know what I mean? They're going to come from the undrafted free agent that still makes a team and ends up making a career. So just keep that in mind. Look out. Don't stop watching after the first day. To all the listeners, give the guys on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Give them all a chance because there's some great stories in there that just need to be heard. So
You mentioned that, but it's interesting because quiet as it's kept, some of the best parts of the theater are on the
yeah,
backside of the draft because there's so much filler, right? Because you're not seeing these live picks the same way. You get more of those stories. You get more of, now this kid's story is really special because, he was working at Walmart as
right,
a late night stock clerk while going to JC,
right,
and he thought his opportunity was over,
right.
and here he is, getting picked up, and
Yeah,
getting a shot.
yeah.
So to your point, I mean, it's a long play. It's not a short run. Don't leave it intermission. Don't count. It's in the second round. That's it. Tune in as you can. I mean, wash your car, do your chores, get some groceries, spend some time with your babies.
Yep.
But recognize the whole show is entertaining. If you're a sports fan, if you're a fanatic, I know it's serious business to you. You got your sheets out, you got all the articles you circled, you got
Right.
all the computers up, and you checking pages. But at the end of the day, these some men will have their lives changed over the next few days in ways that they've been dreaming about since they were kids. Their families' lives will change, and some for the better, some for the worse. So, with that, big damn, I definitely want to take you to. We're gonna suspend for the moment championship rounds, but it's winning time. So I know you got some DAP DNA for it's winning time as we close out the show.
It's winning time, man. So this one comes from one of my favorite books, 48 Laws of Power. One of the tenets from 48 Laws of Power, and it fits right in with the draft strategy, the gamesmanship. And the law simply states, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Now that sounds negative, I know. Now, don't trust your friends. What kind of friends you got? Use your enemies. What kind of people you hanging around? I get it. But in a game like the draft, let's just take the draft. I think all of these GMs, all these executives, all these coaches, all of these organizations, it's a kind of a small fraternity. It's a brotherhood. They all like one another. I think they're for the most part. But when you step into the playing field, it's a game. And, you can't put too much trust in. I can't put too much trust in you because you're going to do what's best for your team. And I got to do what's best for my team. Doesn't mean I hate you. Doesn't mean I'm going to sabotage you, but I can't put too much trust in you. And then as far as those people out there that I know are my enemies, I got to learn how to use you for my benefit. So apply that to your life, right? When we're out here moving around, we can't put too much trust in our friends because at the end of the day, your job is to feed your family and my job is to feed your family. My job is not to sabotage you. Don't get me wrong. But my job is to take care of me and mine. And I can't trust that you understand or that you have the same passion about taking care of me and mine that I do. Matter of fact, I know you don't because they're mine, right? So that's where that comes from, man. And then as far as the enemies, anything that's an enemy to you, use it. You have to learn to use it to your advantage and not let it use you. So never put too much trust in friends and learn to use your enemies from the 48 Laws of Power. And if you use that when it's appropriate, I think you'll win. I think you'll win.
That is a dope it's winning time quote. Dope quote. And when you were talking, I was thinking about Hines Ward.
Boom.
Hines Ward, one of the things I love about him, not just that he showed up all the time. He always seemed to show up.
He did.
But here's a guy who was a quarterback in college,
Yeah.
converts to wide receiver, and in my opinion, Hall of Fame worthy for what he
Yeah.
did on the field.
Yeah.
Regularly seen with a smile on his face, enjoying the game, enjoying the game. And to do that, you have to shed yourself of kind of the serious baggage that can surround the game. You're always going to be fighting for your job in that arena. You're always concerned about injury or something ancillary taking away the opportunity to provide and enjoy what you're doing. But it's a decision you have to make. I'm playing for a living.
Yep.
I'm playing for a living, and I'm doing something I love. So I love that, because that just gives you some tenets to work with, that, you know what? My friends are my friends, but they got their concerns. I got mine. I love that. I love that.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
anything that tries to rob me of attention to detail to take care of mine, I got to figure out how I can use that to
Mm-hmm.
fuel me taking care of mine. Beautiful,
Absolutely.
brother. Beautiful. Big Dame, as always, thrilled to have the conversation. Appreciate the nuggets of wisdom and the gems that you drop. Bankster, thank you for our straight to the bank trivia questions. Salute. And we thank Pete Nice for always keeping the needle on the groove, dropping it on the one, cutting on the brakes. But most of all, we appreciate you, DAPTimers, for tuning in to this episode of Game Time, this year's 2021 Draft Day special. Be sure now, if you don't mind missing out, don't even play the game. But if you want to get in and get something real special in that DAP pack, be sure to participate. Get on over to www.itsdaptime.com. Click on the Take It to the Bank trivia and make sure that you participate. Put your information in, submit your answers. Make sure they're the right answers, though. Don't just put your information in and don't put answers. Put the right answers in to qualify. And I trust you will do so. And if you're not doing so already, follow us on all our social media platforms. On Instagram, DAPTime21, on Twitter at DAP_time, and on Facebook at DAPTime. But whatever you do, be sure you do it, share with others, and catch us on YouTube. If you're looking at this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and send this out and share with at least 10 friends. It's a movement, baby. We want you to be a part of it and share with those you love. Until we see you next time, we'll leave you as we always do. You look in the morning, wake up in the mirror. There is your competition. We out. Peace.